welcome to The Perspective. I'm Lorie Hartshorn, and I've been having a great time hanging out at The Perspective all this week. For Mike Sherbino, we're having great conversations. We're learning a lot and ultimately gaining perspective on some very important things in our life. And I don't know about, you, but today's topic is really so relevant to me. I'm not only just a mom, but I'm now a grandma. And can I just say that I have grandchildren that have access to these cell phones, these things that I had no memory of. I have actually a time in my life where I have no digital memory. And that's actually a gift, believe it or not, because the cell phone and internet did not come into my world till later in my life. But the truth is, my grandkids are seeing it, the day they're born pretty well. They're being exposed to so many things that our generation wasn't. And so we need to learn, don't we? We need to be equipped. It can be a scary world out there, and we want to help our kids. And we have the perfect person here today to help us navigate some of the challenges of protecting our children online. Julia Beazley is the EFC's Director of Public Policy. She's been with EFC since 1999, working mainly on issues of domestic and global poverty, homelessness, prostitution, pornography, and human trafficking. Wow. So Julia has insight into so many topics today. Well, she moved from her previous position as policy analyst to director of public policy in January 2016. And Julie is joining us today to talk about this very important topic of protecting kids online. Well, welcome to The Perspective, Julia. It's a delight to have you here.
Hi, Lorie. It's great to be here.
Have you always had digital memory in your lifetime? Can you remember a time without the internet or cell phones?
Believe it or not, I can. I remember when the internet was a dial-up, slow process in university. Yep, things have changed.
Yes, they certainly have changed, and so quickly, right? And with this change, there's become an increasing concern about protecting our kids online from explicit material like pornography and gambling sites. So, we need your help today, Julia. Please give us, first of all, a picture or statistics on the ages of kids gaining access to smartphones.
Yeah, well, they're a bit shocking, really. I think we all know that kids are spending more and more time online at younger and younger ages. But a Globe and Mail article this spring said that more than 1 in 3 kids aged 2 to 6 use a smartphone.
No.
Yeah, half of kids between 7 and 11 actually have their own. But even if our kids don't have their own smartphone, they have friends, classmates, or older siblings who do. They have the world at their fingertips and in their pockets. And this carries potential for all kinds of good things, but also significant potential for harm.
Yeah.
And one of the harms we've been sounding the alarm on for a number of years is kids accessing pornography online. So we know that I think more than half of 11 to 13-year-olds have seen porn online, but we've heard of kids much, much younger. And unfortunately, for all of us as parents, as grandparents, as people who care about the children in our lives, the question isn't if kids will see it, it's when. Wow. Because they can so easily access these porn sites that are free, that don't have any meaningful age assurance in place, whether they're looking for it or not. So really simple search terms, even very innocent search terms, can bring up these websites. So we have to do something about this.
Yes. And you know what? You have a greater appreciation. I raised my kids and they didn't have as much exposure on it really until closer in their teen years. But I'm watching my little grandkids and going, this is frightening. And tell us, what are some of the effects on kids that are a result of exposure to things like pornography? How does it affect them?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that we often hear in these spaces that pornography has become the primary sex educator of kids today, and that is deeply, deeply worrisome. There is a growing body of research that tells us that viewing pornography has significant harmful effects on the developing brain, on the ability to form healthy relationships, on the ways we think about and relate to the opposite sex. And so much of what kids see today on these free sites is violent and aggressive. A 2021 study found that 1 in 8 of the titles shown to first-time viewers on the landing pages of these mainstream sites portrayed sexually violent acts. So what they're seeing is telling them dangerous and damaging lies about sexuality. Porn teaches that sex isn't about intimacy, love, or respect, that it's casual, recreational, meaningless, that it's adversarial or aggressive, that violence is normal and desirable. We know that viewing pornography shapes kids' and teens' attitudes about sex, their expectations of themselves and their partners, their understanding of what's normal, and all of this has an impact on their behavior with real-world consequences for the kids themselves, for how they treat and relate to each other now and in future relationships, and for society, because what they're seeing normalizes some pretty awful things. So this is not what we want for our kids. It's certainly not God's design for them. So we have to do all we can to protect them from being exposed to and kind of pulled down into that seemingly bottomless pit of pornography online.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It can be scary and feel quite overwhelming, but you say that there's some good news regarding this, that age assurance technologies exist, and
Yeah.
that if they were to be put in place, they would protect children and youth. So, first of all, explain what age assurance is and how does it work?
Sure. So this is one of the important tools we have available. These technologies will verify that a user is over a certain age before they can access certain content or create an account. We don't have that right now, right? What we have might be, enter your age or your birthday, click here if you're over 18. Well, that's not meaningful. Anybody can do that. So unless kids have filters they have to get around that have been put in place at home or on their devices, there's no barrier. So broadly speaking, age assurance technologies will either verify or estimate a person's age with some degree of reliability. So this can be done in a few different ways. So for example, a user can be asked to show government ID or a credit card to an approved independent third party that will use that information to confirm they're over a certain age and then delete the information. Or their age can be estimated using biometrics like facial features. So these technologies is important. These technologies verify the user's age, not their identity. It's not facial recognition, it's called facial age estimation. And these technologies tend to be pretty accurate to within a couple of years.
That's really fascinating because I think, to your point, sometimes people think, oh, it's going to get all my information on myself, my identity, capture it all. So then we're hesitant. But that actually makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? That age
Yeah.
recognition, setting up that barrier. In the real world, I mean, age restrictions, you think about it, they exist for entering certain establishments, right? They require you to show ID when purchasing specific products. So why is this not been the case online?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah,
I think there are a few reasons for that. But a big one is that pornography is a commercial enterprise.
right.
These sites make billions and billions of dollars a year, and they make most of their money from advertising and kind of other connections that happen on their sites. So the more eyes on their content, the more money they make, which means there's no financial incentive to restrict the number of users, whoever they may be. And meaningful age restrictions also take some degree of intention and effort to put in place. Wide open access is an easy, though clearly problematic, default option. There are also a lot of what I might call red herrings in this discussion that seem to come up whenever and wherever age assurance is proposed. You alluded to one of them. There are usually concerns raised about data collection, which is a bit rich given the inordinate amount of data these sites already collect from their users. But
Yeah, exactly.
there are those who express concern about online privacy. If I had to show my government issued ID, would that information be secure? What if there was a hack? My information got out. So this and the data question are really why the standard today is that it be an independent third party that verifies, certifies the user, and then deletes the information, not the porn site itself. So Canada's Privacy Commissioner believes it is possible to design and use age assurance in a way that protects privacy, and we agree. These platforms aren't doing it on their own, so we need legislation to require them to do it.
And there's some countries that actually already have these restrictions in place. And when we come back, we're going to learn more from Julia, and we're going to learn about age restrictions in other places. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back. We're here with Julia Beazley from EFC, and we're talking about the important question of protecting our kids online. Now, Julia, you said that there is age restriction put in place in other countries for online users. So where are those countries? Maybe we all want to move there. What does it actually look like in other countries?
Yeah, so we've got some great examples from other countries, not only of how this can work, but more importantly, that it does work. And we need to be learning from those jurisdictions that have managed to do this in ways that work and that protect privacy. So after a few starts and stops, the UK is rolling out their Online Safety Act. So this will require providers, including pornography platforms, to use age verification or estimation or both to prevent kids from any age from encountering content that's harmful online. Germany has had guidelines for online age assurance in place for many years. Australia is moving ahead with a pilot program for age assurance, and there are several US states that have passed age assurance laws. So something that's interesting is in countries like Germany or the UK, the laws don't mandate which method companies have to use. They just say you have to use one of these many providers and technologies that have been approved by the regulatory body as effective and privacy preserving. Right. I think France actually passed a law this spring introducing an age verification system to ensure that websites and I think video sharing platforms that broadcast pornographic content aren't accessible to minors. So there are lots of countries that are really starting to recognize these harms and taking action, and we would love to see Canada do the same.
Well, we certainly have enough studies, enough stats, enough statistics to see the damage that has happened in our children and youth that leads to a very dysfunctional adult life. And we want to help and heal people. Where does Canada stand then on the status of age assurance technologies?
Yeah, so as I said, we don't currently mandate them, at least not for pornography sites. The Privacy Commissioner has just done a bit of a consultation on the topic, and as I said, he believes that it is possible to do this in a way that's effective and privacy preserving. So we're hoping that is a good sign. And you mentioned gambling sites. So these sites are regulated province by province, but some, if not all, actually require an account with a credit card registered in order to gamble. I'm sure there's financial reasons for that, but we do have some precedent for this kind of verification. But technology moves so fast, and we're already behind when it comes to responding to online harms, including access to porn sites. But this isn't a new issue, right? This has been around as long as we've had Wi-Fi and smartphones. And we have, as you said, decades of research on the harms. So it's past time that we get this done. So there is a bill that's currently moving through the House of Commons that would make it a criminal offense to make sexually explicit material available for a commercial purpose to those under 18. It's called Bill S210. And it is a critical step toward mandated age assurance. So we've supported this bill. We will continue to call for it to be passed. But for this to happen, we all need to speak up, tell our MPs we're concerned and we think this needs to pass. So we've got information about that on our website. The other piece that's important is we often talk about protecting kids in front of and behind the screens. So we need to make sure that the images that are on these platforms aren't of minors. We need legislation that requires these sites to verify age and consent before the images or videos are uploaded in the first place, because once they're up there, it is incredibly difficult to get them back, and the damage is lifelong and devastating. So there's another bill that's before Parliament called Bill C-270, or the Stopping Internet Sexual Exploitation Act, and it would require this of pornography platforms. So we support this bill. I would invite all of you to support it as well. As I said, you can find more information about both of these on our website, and some, information, sample communications, ways to contact your MP about them.
Well, that's super helpful, because my next question was going to be, what can we do? Parents, grandparents, caregivers, what can we do to help protect children in our care? And I appreciate the information for sure about these bills that are being passed, because that actually gives us hope that, the people in power are becoming aware, are making, motions towards this. And we can certainly get behind those bills, and we can pray, right, as people. Is there practical things that even now, as a grandmother, help me out here? What can I do to protect my own children in my life, as others watching would want the same?
Yeah, I love this question. And one of the things I always say is that we are our kids' or grandkids' first line of defense. So it is so important we do our best to establish open, honest dialogue with them, to talk to them about what's out there in an age-appropriate way, and what to do when they encounter some of this content, or when their friends try to show it to them. Make sure they know that seeing something bad doesn't make them bad, right? The message should be, if you see something, come talk to me. We want them to come to us with their questions, their curiosities, and also to know that we're both safe to come to if something happens, and we're a safe place to land if they do make a mistake. And kids will make mistakes, right? We all did. We need to make sure that we give them a lifeline if that happens. The other thing I might suggest, which won't make me popular with any kids who might be watching, is hold off on the smartphone as long as you can. The longer you can delay, the better. If it's for communication purposes, there are non-smart or less smartphones out there that you can get. When they do get one, it's important to be engaged and aware. Familiarize yourself with the apps and games they're using, learn about the privacy and location settings, and lock things down as much as possible, so that ideally your kids are only interacting with other kids they know. There's amazing filtering softwares and blocking, tools that you can use to try and keep them from accessing some of this content. But in general, it's just really important to know what they're doing. What are they doing on their phone, iPad, laptop, especially at younger ages? Doesn't mean we're right in there in everything they're doing, but it's important that we have an understanding of who they're interacting with, how are they spending their time. And the other thing is that I think is important is to set some limits. Do they need data, right? Or can they just make do with Wi-Fi, and then you make use of the technologies that help filter and block kinds of content? Make a rule that they're not on their devices after a certain time, and not in their bedrooms alone at night. You said this in the beginning. When I was in school, we passed notes, right?
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes they weren't very nice, right? But they didn't follow me home. They weren't being tossed in my bedroom window at me at night when I was trying to study or sleep. Kids need spaces and times where they get a break from this nonstop access. And we do too. So maybe consider as a family building in these offline times for everyone. But even, with our best efforts, it's too big for parents alone to manage, right. Which is why, we say we need the government to take action as well. Yeah. Anti-porn activist Gail Dines says asking parents to keep their kids from seeing porn online is like asking them to keep their kids from breathing polluted air. Or Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes, which is actually a fantastic resource for parents, says there are sharks in the pool and the pool is in their pockets. So this is a society-wide problem. We want all kids protected, not just those whose parents are really involved and aware of what's going on. So we need a range of tools and solutions to address this.
Well, that is super helpful. I can't thank you enough, and I know those watching really appreciate your insight. Thank you for your good work. How can people find the EFC?
Yeah, so we've made this a bit of a focus for this back to school month. So you can find more information at www.theefc.ca/protectkids. And that'll take you to a bunch of different resources we have on pornography generally and how to protect kids. We have a new brochure. And watch our communications for an upcoming webinar series we're doing in collaboration with Defend Dignity in October and November. So those will address different areas of online harms and how we can respond. We don't have a registration page just yet, but but we will soon. So keep an eye on our communications for that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well done. Great work. We really appreciate your work, and we appreciate the EFC. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for hosting this important conversation.
We'll be right back.
Will you donate 2 hours of your time? Crossroads Prayer Center is seeking people with a heart willing to join in the amazing work God is doing through prayer. Providing over 1,300 prayer interactions daily, Crossroads Prayer Partners speak biblical truth and words of life over people's need. Join in God's transforming work through prayer and enrich your faith. Learn more at crossroads.ca/prayervolunteer.
Did you know you can stream our shows on demand? We are thrilled to announce the launch of our channel on Roku TV. You can now watch the Perspective shows anytime you like and navigate through a variety of playlists. How to find us? Simply search for the Perspective channel, find our logo screen, and save it under your channels of choice on your Roku selection menu. Don't miss out. New feature shows will be updated weekly.
I want to talk about happiness today. We all want to be happy, don't we? Absolutely. And look where I'm standing right here in the midst of a beautiful apricot vineyard. It is just amazing, the beauty that's all around us. It's almost like the place where you'd want to come and have a picnic lunch and just sit there and talk to your favorite person. Hopefully that's your wife, or maybe it's your girlfriend, or vice versa. But you get the picture. It's almost like something out of a movie set. And we say, oh, the picnic, the relaxation, I am finally happy. And then we go back to the pressures of life. Let's go to the scriptures today, because in Psalm 37, we have an incredible teaching that I'm going to do today and tomorrow that talks about the steps to a happy heart. And what keeps our heart happy is when we're living in the presence of God. And God wants us to live in his presence, even in spite of all the stuff that's going on. We're in this tranquil place, but trust me, down the road, there's all sorts of pressures and things that people are dealing with, and that we'll deal with as well, as soon as we leave this idyllic place. But hear the words of Psalm 37. Do not fret because of those who are evil, or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass, they will soon wither. Like green plants, they will soon die away. But trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So let's think for a moment. Imagine if you could bottle happiness. My goodness, you would think you have the world by the tail. But there's no bottle big enough for that prospect. And let's remember this. Happiness is not found in money, sex, or power, or even in this vineyard ultimately. Those bring only temporary relief. Instead, we're going to learn from the scriptures that happiness is found in God himself. So how do we attain all of that and more? Well, David talks about the antidote for our happiness. He says, first, choose not to fret or be envious of others. You see, when I start to envy other people, whether it's what they own, what they don't own, whatever, then it just robs the joy from my life. If the grass is greener on the other side, they have a higher water bill. That's absolutely the way it goes. Second, choose to trust in the Lord. What does it mean to trust in the Lord? Well, this kind of trust is a deliberate course of action where we live and walk by faith. Dwelling in the land is enjoying the provisions God has given to you. It is being completely reliant on Him for all that you need. And third, choose to keep Jesus at the center. Don't lose sight of the fact that things come and go, but our relationship with Him is what brings ultimate satisfaction. As you begin today, I want you to think about the things that you are thankful for. What are the things that you've allowed to steal your joy? Hey, my goodness, we're right in the middle of a shoot, and a German Shepherd walks up to me. I could think, whoa, that buddy could bite my leg off, but instead he's just a friendly guy, and he's coming along. Maybe that's a little bit on the lighter side. It's totally unscripted, but folks, this is reality TV. And you live not in reality TV, but in reality life. And I want you to realize that God cares for you. He loves you. And He's saying to this, don't live with jealousy. Don't live fretting about what is going to happen to other people. Rest in the confidence that God is with you. And just like this vineyard, in a few months, the leaves will fall, the fruit will be gone, and the winter season is going to come. But God says, trust in me and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Delight in the Lord, and He gives you the desire of your heart. Are you overwhelmed with life and the stresses of life? God invites you right now to come and to know Him, to walk with Him. He wants to be your present help in time of trouble. He invites you to draw near. Actually, the Bible says, draw near to me, and I will draw near to you. Let the solitude and the silence of this beautiful place be a reminder to you of God's very presence with you. He does care for you. He does love you. He knows the pressures that you're under, and He says, give me your pressures, give me your cares. People think that's too simplistic, but really it isn't, because if He is the creator of all things, is He not more than able to take care of you and to take care of me? And so as we close today, I want to invite you to pray with me. A simple prayer to say, Lord, I release to you my cares, the things that are overwhelming me. I'm asking you to be my strength. I'm asking you to be my Savior and my Lord. If you've prayed that simple prayer with me today, would you write to me? Just write mike@theperspective.tv or call that toll-free number at the bottom of the screen. There are people there to help you, to encourage you, and to pray for you, because God does not want you and I to be people who fret or live uptight lives.